and a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. One potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4, 5 potato, 6 potato, 7 potato more. Today is going to be a big day because I am going to work on the characters. I hesitated because I literally just forgot. You know when you're speaking and then a word just goes out of your mind. You know what's so funny? When I am writing, I'm just pulling words from all these places in my mind, describing things in extravagant ways. And then when I'm speaking, I just forget everything. I forget every word that ever existed. I'll just be saying the most simple sentence. I need to go to the shop, and I'll be like, I need to go to the you know what I'm saying, the place where you buy things and then you like stand in line, the shop, yeah. In all seriousness, yesterday I did a lot. I did the whole history of the settlement and the religion. As a recap, for any new viewers, I'm writing a book which has developed over the days. It started as a more like medieval fantasy heist rescue. It's developed into a more fantasy post-apocalyptic world, focused more on a group of survivors in a settlement and the lives they're living in this very tough world. So I did have an idea. I have my documents on my phone as well as my laptop. So I'm in bed trying to go to sleep. I had an idea because I want the world to have fantastical creatures. So the main creatures who caused the apocalypse are Vespids, a creation of my own. However, I want there to be other kind of mythological, fantastical creatures. I think it's cool to round out the habitat of my world. I was thinking, so it's been 600 years since basically the fall of humanity. But if this world was like our own, 600 years is not really enough to make all these different creatures unless I add some magic into it, which it's like I'm mixing genres here because this is turning into almost like a gritty post-apocalyptic world, but it's fantastical. There's magic, fantasy creatures, fantasy elements in the story. It's just part of the world they live in. I need to think about this. So the thing is, the world is going to be magical, it's going to be fantastical. And I don't really have to explain anything in the book, but I feel there are certain things it's important as the author for me to know, so I make sure that everything lines up and makes sense. Because I think as a reader, maybe you've experienced this, sometimes you can just feel there is something off about the world, or a couple things happen and it doesn't make sense. And you can't tell why, but it just feels off. One of the reasons that happens is because behind the scenes of the world building, the author doesn't have set rules that they are following. It's not about that you as a reader have to be told the rules in the book, not necessarily. But there are rules that an author should follow for their own world. And if they break those rules, sometimes even in subtle ways, then even though you might not have any proof that something shouldn't happen, it is kind of like breaking a promise to you. So I want to know what this world was before and what it has become for myself, so I keep things consistent. I can layer in some little hints and whatnot. So I just need to figure that out. Now I'm like thinking it through. Maybe it dilutes the Vespid situation if there are all these kind of fantastical creatures. So maybe it should just be our world that turned into this. And yeah, there's magic and fantastical elements, but not fantastical creatures. But the thing is, Galen was originally brought up by manticores. So if manticores are taken out of the story, then I have to change his backstory a little bit, just different creatures. So I have decided that originally Galen was going to be brought up by manticores, which is why I was struggling with whether to include these like mythological fantasy creatures. But I've decided no, he isn't brought up by manticores. He's brought up by something else, which I'm not going to reveal. This is going to be a massive twist. Possibly, we'll see how it goes. But essentially, the world is going to be a version of ours with regular creatures. Yeah, it was a version of ours with regular wildlife. But then how have the Vespids... I wonder what would change. 600 years. So I need to figure out what would actually happen in a situation like this to the world, to the animals and stuff. Okay, yeah, I'm done on the world. Basically, yeah, it's going to be... I've thought up some... The world will have adapted, like the wildlife, animals, plants, etc., to the Vespids becoming basically the apex predators on the planet. However, it's not going to be too crazy. It was our world that has become a wilder, more dangerous world. It's changed into something different. There will be magic elements, but that's different. Let's get to Galen. I had a cool idea about him. So I am onto the characters now. I'm actually doing character profiles like this. I just had the idea. I don't normally do it like this. Normally I just write down information about the character in more a paragraph format. But with this planning for this book, I'm developing how I plan, and I'm being a bit more structured. I'm using more bullet points, titles, headings, just making it more structured, I think. Developing how I plan along the way. You see, so yesterday, silly me, I was like, yeah, if tomorrow I can do the characters, then the day after I'm going to be able to start planning the plot. But I've done 2 characters and I have many more to go today. So this was good though, this was fun. And it was quite simple. A bit of decisions I had to make at the beginning with Galen and what happened exactly, but I switched around his background to make it what I believe to be much more compelling. And with Arjun, it's pretty simple. He doesn't have a crazy background. But yeah, I'd say it's going well. Tomorrow, more of the same. The plan is to make character profiles, just base character profiles for all the POV characters, and then the other important characters in their orbit. And I should have a decent selection of characters pre-planned before I even start planning the actual plot and getting that down. And then I'll be able to move on from this. But yeah, good day today. AA Watson out.